you'll be approving. It said that it started your I-rating 2019-2020 school year. So by now your staff should be able to use this very effectively. And MM, you're doing the assessment, which I feel is critical. And to do that, and to see that, in which is fact that you as a board can look to see if you're getting your money's worth, and if the taxpayers are getting their money's worth also. And it's also a great tool to look back on, and so that you can follow students to prepare themselves to ensure academic progress in reading and in math. I look at some of the accomplishments of our students in the athletics, and I also often wonder why, especially first generation Latinos that I've come across the last couple of years, they're really dismayed that their kids don't know the multiplication tables. And they're wondering why. And they say, oh, but we've got our phones, so we don't have to learn our multiplication tables. And they're appalled with that. And I look at our sports people, and what do our sports people do? They start out with their warm-ups. They do everything every day, the same day, every time to strengthen themselves. Then after they do that, they practice and practice and practice. If I look at our sports, practice day after day, hour after hour, week after week. Do we have our third graders? How much do they practice their timetables? How much our fourth graders do their timetables? How about their math? How about their reading? Do we have to do them over and over? When I was on the board, they told me, oh, we don't want to do drill and kill. Poor kids. No, we don't want to do that. What about our athletes? They do that. Time in and time out. And they get results. Also, when I looked at the assessment for the I-rating, I was very interested in it. And I reached out to Kenneth Hirsch, who was Associate Superintendent here in Oceanside. And he's now Superintendent of West Contra Costa Unified School District. And he's had good results with his I-rating. And he said he meets with the school board 3 times a year when the assessments comes out. And he sits with them and looks and goes through it with them. So I will be asking for information about the results the next the 3 times this year that's coming out, so that you know as a school board what's going on. So when the tests come out and assessments come out, academics come out, you will be assured that you're doing the best you can for all your kids. So, and again, consideration, because there is a very slow academic progress in this district, I would like the board to really see those results and to know that what you're doing is the right thing for the right programs and for the kids, and to be able to track some of these kids, because I just learned that the 4th grade, if they don't know how to read and understand in 4th grade, that is a pipeline to prison. And we've got many great accomplishments of our students, many, and I know that. But what about the others that might have that pipeline? Thank you.
Because it is a public hearing, at this time, if there's anybody that has any questions, we are opening it up at this point in time also for additional questions or comments, actually. I'm sorry, comments from the community at this point. Do we have anything? No? Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to point out some of the positives. So looking at the I-ready data, and thank you for showing off and telling me the difference between the two. I think it's really great looking at K123, the progress that they made. That's huge. What are you doing to preserve what's working right now? I can't wait to see those recommendations. I saw that intervention teachers is on the recommendations from the committee. Are we making changes on how intervention teachers, how we do it this year to next year?
Absolutely. Our committee really thinks deeply about how to support all students and those students who may be struggling. So in thinking about that, we think about what is the goal we're trying to achieve. And what we want is for students who maybe have needed more repetition or a different way that things are presented, that they have that opportunity. So next year, what we are looking at is that we want to expand arts for all students in our district based on our Prop 28 funding. So today we talked about the music teacher job description. So all of our students will be receiving music in one form or another, whether it be choral music or instrumental music in the 4th and 5th grade. In addition to that, we will have teachers who will be teaching art to students so that teachers can provide small group instruction and targeted intervention to those students who effective program that we have at 2 of our schools, Giggles and at Del Rio. We've seen incredible growth, and our teachers report also that they really like it because it allows them to have that time with the students to provide that targeted support, because the classroom teacher knows their children the best, and the children respond the best to their classroom teacher supporting them in their learning.
So the teacher, we'll get to you. Thank you. So the teachers, how it's done now is students that that are identified to need additional support are,
In some schools are sent away to a different teacher.
to an intervention teacher,
That's
that's for a small group. Okay, and so this is switching where the teacher is responsible for the small group interventions and the rest of the students go to art.
That's correct.
And what concerns me about this is some of these students that would benefit most from the arts will be in intervention that they need, and they will not be getting that intervention. And that, we always have those concerns.
We absolutely agree with you, and that is part of the design. So all students receive art instruction. So for example, let's say that the art instructions take, these are not the right minutes, but let's just say that it's an hour of art instruction. Groups will be pulled in 15-minute increments so that the students will all be able to participate for at least 45 minutes of the instruction or half an hour of it. So no one is not getting the art, everyone is going to get a mixture. And at Del Rio and our other schools, sometimes they even pull groups with our most advanced learners so that we can accelerate them and provide them with that enrichment as well.
Thanks for explaining that.
Thank
Thank you for this open time. We didn't know we'd be able to ask you questions, so this is a good time for feedback.
Sorry, it's just understand though, it is a comment, not a question. So just understand these are, we are taking comments at this time from you all
Okay.
about the
I'll
LCAL.
try and frame it that way. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
The comment is, I don't understand. I think you've been focusing on iReady and maybe as an assessment tool since 2019, and that obviously showed from the fall when they first come back to the spring a good change in learning. However, how does that help with the state test scores, which is what everyone across the state looks at and what everybody competes with? In other words, what is the point? I mean, the teacher, and I don't know, I can't ask a question. I'm saying, what is the point of assessing with one program if it doesn't produce results in the, I think Stacey mentioned it, the compared of the CAASP scores, the state scores? So I guess that's my comment.
I think that was, you and I were thinking alike when I asked Dr. Levy to explain it, and what I got to see, we're testing my knowledge now, is the iReady is 3 times a year, and it is showing progress over time on the same state standards that are measured 1 time a year on a tool that the students are. I was a teacher, I had students with disabilities that would have to take these assessments as well, and they were not familiar with the format of it or the novelty of it, and like, you lose, especially with the 3rd graders, 4th, 5th, they're like, oh, this is new, or they lose the interest because it was challenging. It's still measuring the same thing, but for us, it's local data that we get in real time that the teacher can respond to immediately versus the state data, we call it graveyard data, that comes 4 or 5 months later, and those kids are already on to the next school year. So we're able to use this data now versus that state assessment, which is just a snapshot.
Right, but the teacher generally, if you've been in the classroom, generally knows where the student's at as far as progress. So I guess I'm questioning the need for all this money and time spent on iReady when actually the state score is what all the students are competing against. You know what I
And
mean?
I would argue that the state scores aren't a clear picture of how our students are doing, because it's not.
Well, but when you
I want to
look at it
answer.
or compare,
One of the things that Dr. Lovey talked about was growth. And one of the powerful components of iReady is that it gives you the quantifiable data about a student at the beginning of the year. And what teachers actually do is they show that data to students so that students can see their growth. And many of them set goals throughout the year in both language arts and mathematics. so that students can see their progress. It's a motivating way, it's an empowering way to engage students in their own learning, and that's the more powerful piece, and I would argue that that's what students engage with and that's what parents engage with, so that everybody can show growth, because not everyone succeeds along the same continuum.
Right, but in the real world, you're competing with everybody, and those state scores are what you're competing with. And yeah, the teacher generally knows the growth, but I don't, yeah, that was just a comment. I don't know, a lot of time when you spend on the iReady, that the teacher probably already knows. And a lot of the computer learning is the student doesn't progress until they learn the issue, so they already know they're progressing. Just a question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, board members and superintendent. My name is Veronica Garcia. I wanted to tell you, I want to talk about inclusion, and I'm going to read for students with disabilities. I have always looked for a better future and been advocating for meaningful inclusion, and some of you know. I know that meaningful inclusion takes a lot, and that is worth it. And it takes a lot of work and effort. It is possible, but we need your help. We need your help bringing back the continuation of the special education task force that we had 2 years ago. I don't know what happened. We said that we would come back maybe 6 months after we ended. Or maybe we can make another committee or something to help us. I just heard about you working and also having a lot, the special education, special needs, student needs are growing, and we need more help with that. Our students with a special needs need inclusion, and they need to be recognized like any other student. For example, as a student of the month, maybe they're not might be at the standard of the other students, but they do a big effort in the school, in every classroom. Let's work together for our students to make a meaningful inclusion environment, and let's work for our parents too. This is an effort not only for the special education director or the teachers, for the whole district. I'm asking for this support to make the life of our students better. Thank you.
Madam President, I would like to clarify that we are still on item 8A, which is a public hearing. So we're not at the public comment yet about items that are not on the agenda.
So that item that she just spoke about is part of our LCAP. The inclusive practices, that's the whole special ed support that we use.
Before you let her go ahead and continue to speak.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make that clear for the next lady.
I just wanted to clarify with the iReady versus the CAPS testing is that the iReady is great that you're going to do it multiple times a year to assess the achievement of a student, but the CAPS scores, even though it's a snapshot, it actually is a good snapshot of each elementary school and how they're doing compared to different, how students at certain elementary schools are obtaining achieving in math, English, language arts, and also science, which I guess is not measured by the iReady. And the science is particularly important, which is because it is given in fifth grade before students move on to middle schools. And in order to achieve a level of science, it does incorporate being able to read, to comprehend, and also certain math skills. And I've noticed that there are certain, particularly schools with a large number of socioeconomically disadvantaged students, and also English language learner students seem to have very low scores in science, like 16, 14, 12 point something %. And I'm wondering what you are going to, how you are measuring how these students in certain elementary schools do when they move on after 5th grade into middle school and and then move on to high school? Like, what is their access to education? Because it certainly seems like there's inequitable access to education for certain students at certain elementary schools. So I hope you'll consider that when looking at all the test scores, that even if certain students are achieving better, and also to look at the threshold of where they were at. Like, I've been looking at some of the chronic absenteeism rates, and like at Libby School after the pandemic, the first year back to school after the pandemic, the chronic absenteeism rate for students with disabilities was 67%. And then yes, it did decrease to 52%, but still 52% of students who are with disabilities that are chronically absent still is way too high. So I'm hoping that you're going to look at how you're supporting the students with disabilities and to try to ascertain why there's such a high percentage of students that are chronically absent. And if there's an intersection in different ways as well, like are some of the students with disabilities also English language learners, or maybe don't have full attainment? Okay, thanks.
Thanks, thank you.
Can I ask real quick, I'm sorry, you just sat down. Are you a staff member in the district or a parent?
No, I'm an educational consultant.
Okay, thank you.
So I was helping some families, and that's why I started looking at your data.
Perfect, thank you. At this point, we'll move to public comments on non-agenda items. During this portion of meeting, agenda is titled Public Comments on Non-Agenda Items. Individual speakers will be allowed up to 3 minutes total to address the board on non-agenda items. While the total time per speaker for a given topic may be slightly reduced in certain circumstances, all persons wishing to address the board will have a meaningful opportunity to do so during this meeting. However, the total time for public input may be limited to 20 minutes per item or topic. An individual may only turn in one public comment card for the public comments on non-agenda item per board meeting. I'm going to remind just again, what is it? To use respectful language, be respectful of all speakers, do not cause disruptions, and adhere to time limits. This time we will call our first group. Thank you.
We have a total of 10, and our first one will be Olivia Ortiz, who needs 6 minutes. She will need a translator. After her will be Brooke Rafaeli, and then Silas Rafaeli. Olivia.
Buenas
You
tardes a
need
todos.
6 minutes.
Can you please change that to 6 minutes?
We're going to run it twice.
Okay, thank you.
Buenas tardes. Yo vengo aquí a hablar por el bullying que mi hija sufrió en la escuela Middle School en la Rico. Ella sufrió 2 años de bullying. En este caso, nosotros fuimos a reportar muchas veces los abusos que le hacían. Simplemente nos decían el principal que iban a hablar con las niñas y que iban a hablar con las niñas. Y no paraba ese bullying. Mi hija sufrió cortaduras por ella misma. Ahorita ella lleva terapia para solucionar porque le hicieron como físicamente y mentalmente. Ella sí estuvo un poquito mal. Ahorita ella ya terminó la middle school, pero todo ese tiempo que a ella le hicieron, ella no quería ir a la escuela. Todos los días era llorar y dejarla en la escuela llorando, porque para ella era todos los días volver a lo mismo. Hasta que pues mi esposo y yo tuvimos que hablar con el principal, el licenciado, el maestro Mora. Dijo que iba a hablar con las niñas porque no podían hacer otra cosa tuvimos que decirle que si no hacían algo al respecto para solucionar el problema, teníamos que tomar cartas del asunto. Sí se solucionó el problema, afortunadamente, pero como papás y como yo conozco muchas personas que sus hijos han sufrido bullying en esa escuela y que me dicen que los maestros no hacen nada al respecto, yo quisiera que ustedes tomaran cartas en el asunto para ver por qué dejan que muchos niños hagan todo eso. A mi hija le decían por su color de piel, porque somos latinos, y yo creo que eso no es justo. También quiero agradecer a la maestra Miss Mariani, porque ella trató de ayudarnos y el maestro Mora le mandó un email donde pues la estaba culpando, pero realmente ella no estaba haciendo nada malo, simplemente ella nos estaba dando apoyo. Ella es una excelente maestra, siempre lo ha demostrado y no quiero que no haya ningún problema con ella porque es una buena maestra.
Good afternoon, I'm here to talk about the bullying that my daughter suffered at Lincoln Middle School. She was bullied there for 2 years. She would tell us about the way that she was feeling abused there, and we talked to the principal, and he said that he would talk to the other girls, but the bullying didn't stop. My daughter was cutting herself and goes to therapy, and she was a little bit bad physically and mentally. She finished middle school, but while she was there, she didn't want to go. She would be crying every day. Every day she felt like she would be going back to the same thing. And my husband and I even went to go talk to Principal Mora, and he said that the only thing he could do would be to talk to the other girls. But if something didn't get done, then my husband and I felt like we had to do something to solve it. Unfortunately, it did get solved, but a lot of other parents tell me that their students suffer from bullying, and they tell me that the teachers don't do anything. I don't know why. To my daughter, they would tell her things about the color of her skin because we're Latino, and that's not fair. And I want to thank Ms. Mariani, who tried to help us, and Mr. Mora sent her an email blaming her, and she hadn't done anything wrong. She's an excellent teacher, and I don't want any problems to happen to her because of this.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Brooke Raphael. My son Silas was bullied multiple times when he started his school year in the fall at Lincoln Middle School. I tried multiple times communicating with his teachers and reaching out to the principal at Lincoln, and to this day I don't even know what the principal at Lincoln Middle School looks like. The first, when they had open house, he wasn't there or he didn't greet us, but I did try reaching out to him multiple times in the beginning of the year to try to let him know what was going on with my son, because in multiple classes he kept running into being bullied in multiple different ways. My younger child is still at Pablo Top, where my son Silas left in 5th grade. His teacher, Mrs. Victoria Mariani, was his teacher, and I confided with her what was going on. She was always a caring teacher and always wanted to know how Silas transitioned over at Lincoln. So after about a couple months in of not really getting any communication, I heard from a parent, her daughter lives up the street, telling me that my son was getting bullied by a gang member, and my son is not really connected or understands a lot of that stuff. He's a lot younger, way he likes to do things still, and so she was warning me, just the danger my son was getting into, and that I wasn't getting any help. So I pulled him out, and he's now in Coastal Academy, and he's doing a lot better. But I'm here today Miss Marion is the only person that presented this to the principal, and now she is getting penalized for it, and I don't understand why a teacher that is the only one that stuck up for my son and I, trying to help him, because we wanted to keep him in his local middle school, in our local neighborhood, and we can't, because I don't feel he's safe. So I applaud Ms. Mariani for helping us, and I don't know why the school system is penalizing us for it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Silas Raphael. I was excited to start at Lincoln Middle in the fall, but after only a few days of bullying, the bullying began. I was bullied by multiple students in multiple classes. I started to feel very unhappy and not safe at Lincoln. My mom finally had to pull me out after months of no change. I am now at Coastal Academy. I feel a lot safer there. And my 5th grade teacher, Miss Mariani, was the only person within the school district who stepped up for me. I feel Lincoln never really cared.
Thank you very much, Silas.
The next 3 speakers, Lauren O'Donnell, Nancy Nunez, and Emily Bush.
Good evening. I'm petitioning for more prominent safety rules throughout the district regarding bikes, e-bikes, and mobility devices like scooters and skateboards. I am also advocating for prioritization of district-endorsed student education regarding these safety measures. My name is Lauren. I'm a parent at Hussat Elementary, and I'm responsible for spearheading the recent Bike Enroll to School Day that we hosted. We had over 60 students and parents join us off-site, and together we biked into school. We were supported by local businesses. OUSD Nutrition joined us, and we also had Oceanside Police escort. The event was met with excitement and inspiration of school spirit, a profound sense of community togetherness, and our students walked away with a sense of accomplishment and positively caring not only for themselves, but for their city and their environment. Reflection on this experience begs the question, can we foster the momentum of safe biking practices to leave a positive, helpful impact in the lives of our students as we prepare them to confidently interact with the world around them? I'm here tonight because I believe the answer is yes, we can absolutely do that. Planning this event, safety was a key concern and became a springboard as to why I'm appealing for action today. I had a chance to collaborate with local districts such as Cardiff by the Sea and Encinitas, as well as down in San Diego. Sadly, they have also lost students to bike-related incidents, as we have in 2015 with 12-year-old Logan Lipton. All our students were required to have an adult-signed safety waiver in order to ride, and helmets were required to participate in the group. As I spoke with some of these other campuses, I learned that they have safety measures installed in their system year-round to help promote safe riding practices. Things such as mandatory safety assemblies and bike registrations for all wheels that enter campus. Over the last 3 years, Oceanside Police Department has reported that 21% of all bike and e-bike collisions have involved juveniles. What responsibility as a district do we have in protecting the lives of our kids on the road as they are traveling to and from school? Board endorsement of Regulation 5142 requiring helmets for students indicates that we collectively acknowledge and agree that we have a role and a voice in this issue. But as a parent in this district, I feel that more can be done to move the needle in educating and enforcing this critical safety measure as well as adding upon it. In conclusion, I would like to volunteer personally to grow this initiative with the board Board's endorsement as an appointed Safe Routes Coordinator to build upon the Safe Routes School Plan that was compiled on our behalf in February 2021. With the nod to our neighboring districts, I too would like to activate the task force to create tangible and impactful safety practices that can be enforced, as well as actively educate our students on these practices. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Jordy,
Lauren, what was your last name?
Jordy, I just want Jordy to speak to what you can sit down, but I want him to share with you what we're doing with e-bike safety currently, and what we're doing at the middle school, and if we have plans to move it to the elementary, but I just heard someone volunteer. But will you give us an update on that, please?
Yes, and thank you for volunteering. I'll be following up with you for sure. We need more folks to volunteer and help with these efforts. So we rolled out our first e-bike safety project assembly just about 3 weeks ago at Lincoln Middle School, because that's one of our most impacted schools as far as wheels on campus. And so we did partner with SANDAG, with California Highway Safety Patrol, to bring the training to all students, which was kind of like a tier 1 effort. So that means that all students attend that mandatory assembly like we spoke about. But the next rollout would be having a tier 2 and a tier 3 service, where tier 2, any student who brings a bike on campus, or to your point, like something with wheels on campus, they would have to be registered and participate through a class. But then also some corrective actions as well for students who violate any sort of safety expectations on campus, whether it be not wearing a helmet or not being safe on a bike. So we are working with Oceanside Police Department, and we're also working with the California Highway Patrol to bring these trainings to campus. We're working with a local organization here called the Oceanside Safety Project, and we're entering into an MOU with them that we're bringing those assemblies and classes to all of our schools in the 24-25 school year. But we are definitely looking for support and volunteers and advocates, so I'm happy to follow.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Nunez. I'm a registered nurse and also an educator of 42 years. There's a saying that says ignorance is bliss. I don't agree with that. There's a downside to that because there's often negative consequences and poor decisions made when we're ignorant. So I feel like it's time for me to step up to my educating. Let's start with what happens, and my topic is psychological and medical ramifications of transgender operations and procedures. Let's start with what happens when they start hormone, puberty blockers, medicines used to postpone puberty in children. Most common, GnRH, gonadotropin-releasing hormone, causes weight gain, hot flashes, headaches, stops periods, voice deepening, and facial hair growth. Puberty blockers impact bone mineral density, which may not be fully reversible, with associated risk of osteoporosis and fracture. That may not mean anything now, but it has a huge implication later in life. Taking cross hormones can reduce fertility. Cost of puberty blockers approximately $1,200 per month for injections, and range from $4,500 to $18,000 for an implant. Insurance companies often deny. Why encourage something in your schools that can potentially cause so much financial hardships for a family? I'm going to move on because I have a lot, but I know I'm on time. But psychiatric ramifications. In a 2015 survey, they have found that there's a 2-fold to 3-fold increased risk of suicidal psychiatric disorders, including depression, anxiety disorder, suicide attempt, self-harm without lethal intent, increased inpatient as well as outpatient hospitalizations. Medical ramifications, I took care of a patient that did have her vagina sewn shut, which I'm just giving that as an example of what happens, the medical things that can happen, healing complications, urological complications, infertility, chronic pain, potential loss of sexual feeling, numbness caused by nerve damage, male, female, improper vaginal death, painful intercourse, bleeding while healing. These are all risks associated with these transgender surgeries that I'm sure none of you it's not fun to hear this. But these should not be taken lightly, and I think that we need to pay attention to what this being okayed and what's being supported for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you.
I'd like the board to consider some questions about ethnic studies whenever you get the information. As far as the Community Advisory Committee that we've been on about ethnic studies, we don't know at this point whether it will be we looked at it for a 10-credit course, and I know we didn't have very many guidelines, and I think that's still up in the air. What I do want you to consider is the APEX ethnic studies. Some of the questions you might have is, will the class be a year-long class online? Number two, how will the credit be handled for students who transfer to OUSD and have completed the state, because it's only 5 credits of the state graduation requirements. And Oceanside, we're looking at it 10. I don't know the teachers, maybe they're looking at it 5 and they'll be letting us know. Also, if a student decides to take the requirement online during the summer, which will only be 5 credits, will OUSD accept that? So you've got the credit recovery kids that will be taking ethnic studies that way. Then you have the other kids that will be taking the high school, college credit, ethnic studies. And the courses can be taken through Maricosta by way of Cal State CSU East Bay, which East Bay is in Hayward, which is south of San Francisco, and that course is Sociology 3570, Race and Ethnic Studies. And when you look at the Maricosta's syllabus on ethnic studies, it's totally different from what our committee, as far as the community committee, wanted for Oceanside. So this is not Oceanside. It talks about using beats, rhythm, and life. I could find no information on lectures that would be by their members. Who are they? They're not of Oceanside. Also, too, one of the program learning outcomes, it says here, program learning outcomes number 4, with its focus on critical race theory. This course helps students understand theoretical issues with the ability to read, etc., etc. Well, according to your CSBA, you have a paper on critical race theory. And what it does say, I have my eyes dilated, so I couldn't read from the paper. I have to read from here. It says, critical race theory, this is CSBA, what they said about critical race theory, which this class that these kids would be taking. Critical race theory was developed by left-leaning legal scholars, some that were neo-Marxists. Marxism is too complex to explain appropriately here, but it was simple. Oh, that's it. Anyway, so why have Marxist information to our kids when they don't even know our whole system?
Thank you. Next three speakers, Mark Kenny, Janice Saloka, and Patty Day.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for your service to our students and our community. I'm Mark Kenney. I'm a resident of Oceanside and a parent of a first grader at Ivy Ranch Elementary. I have a comment on the registration process for TK and a simple request. As of today, June 11th, I have no information on when my daughter's registration and school assignment for TK will be confirmed and communicated to me. This situation places me and likely dozens or hundreds of other families in a difficult situation of understanding when we will know and where our children will be going to school in August. Most private preschools, such as the one our 4-year-old attends now, are enrolling and requiring non-refundable deposits for tuition at this time. I understand the difficulties the district and school staff have in completing the process. However, the ambiguity and inability to commit to a simple date is unreasonable for all parties. I request the board to direct staff to set publish, and communicate a date when parents will be notified of their TK students' enrollment and school assignments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm making public comment because I'm concerned that certain Oceanside Unified Elementary School students are not being provided with equitable access to education, which then makes it more difficult for them to be successful in middle school and high school. This stomps on the trajectory of their lives and could put them on the pathway to the school-to-prison pipeline. For example, almost 75% of students at Libby and more of Pablo Talk and Mission Elementary schools did not meet the 2022-23 CAS standards in English. And 80% and more students at Libby, Fusat, Pablo Talk, and Laurel Elementary schools did not meet the CAS standards in math. And 84% and more students did not meet the CAS standards in science at Libby, Nichols, and Mission Elementary schools, with Mission having the lowest attainment with only 12.68% of students meeting the standards in science, that's given in 5th grade. It is also concerning that elementary schools like Libby and Mission that have a large socioeconomically disadvantaged student population, 92% and 93.7%, and of a high percentage of English learners, 38.9% and 41.2%, have such low attainment percentages. Thus, I question how many students who have not met the standards are multilingual learners that do not have full English language acquisition and/or are students that have exceptional needs. And I question if staff at elementary schools with a large amount of multilingual language learners are trained to support the needs of students with cultural differences or that are struggling with language acquirement, and to also ascertain which students are struggling because they have learning or reading disorders, particularly as there is an underrepresentation of dyslexia diagnoses among students of color. Children of color. Moreover, I hope that the district will act to ensure that students from elementary schools with low attainment of CAS standards are supported to ensure that they are successful in middle school and also in high school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maria Oshona.
Hi, USD School Board and Executive Board. Happy Pride Month. I wanted to start with that. I'm proud to work for a district that unapologetically raises a pride flag during this month. Pride by the Beach was a community celebration that we just had, and OUSD was represented there with staff. The keynote speaker this year was a staff member from our district. It's a free, family-friendly event. We had lots of families there from our district, and the DEI, Student Support Services Department, had several tables with crafts for kids from elementary through high school could participate in. We'll also be having a booth this Saturday for Juneteenth celebration, same place, also a free family-friendly festival. I encourage anybody in the community to come on out and enjoy the day. According to the Gallup poll of 2022, about 7.1% of the US adults self-identify as part of the LGBT community. For Gen Z, that number is significantly higher. According to the Trevor Project, LGBTQ young people are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their straight peers. 41% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered suicide in the past year, according to their 2023 national survey. And I bring this up just to reiterate why it's important to remember these students. This is a very vulnerable group of students in our community. And whether they're out to us, whether they're not, whether they're out to their families, whether they're not, they're super vulnerable and deserve our care and attention like all the rest of the students. So I thought it was important to bring that up during Pride Month. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm disappointed to learn that I was told that I was the last speaker, and this lady, Maria, came in and submitted before me. So somebody's changing the order there. I think flux from time to time as students in and out enrollment, but there's no specifics on the number of LGBTQ students in your district, and yet you're biased and pander to them, in your department. And how can you have a department that favors one minority, shall we say, that you don't even know the numbers to? I mean, I'm getting really upset about this. You have almost $1 million in salaries in this department, and you favor this one community. Why do you have school district money going to a table at certain LGBT events, Pride Festival, transgender things? What about the Filipino Festival? You weren't there. What about the Samoan Festival? You're not there. What about a table for the autistic children, or the hard of hearing, or the blind? Where's your equity in that? I think that this tonight, with this speaker always speaking last, and there's no one behind, which I was, shows what this district is doing, and I don't think it's equitable at all. And I think to allot a whole department to that persuasion should be known. Thank you.
At this time, we will close the meeting at 8:07. Thank you all for being here.